Hello, I'm Sterling Edwards. Thank you for joining me at the Artefacto YouTube channel. I've been teaching acrylic painting for well over 10 years, and a lot of the students I work with are beginning students getting into acrylic painting, and they have just a lot of questions. What do I need to be an acrylic painter? What kind of paper or canvas, or what kind of paint do I need, or what kind of brushes do I need? These are all very important questions, and I try to cover a lot of these things in my classes and my videos that I do for Artefacto. Being an acrylic painter is a wonderful experience, and a lot of my students are doing quite well. They took the ball and they just ran with it. They're doing some beautiful work, beautiful abstract pieces, beautiful landscapes, and so forth. So what I try to do is I try to break it down for you in a system that is understandable and is not too intimidating. It's like anything else. You can make it as hard as you want it to be. My process really focuses on just getting the bare essentials that you need to make it all come together, and then developing yourself as an artist to where you have a very individual style of painting. My job is to guide you along. So I hope that you'll watch this video and watch this all the way to the very end. I don't want you to miss anything. There's some good information we're going to talk about. Thank you. Okay, here's my painting setup. I've got my disposable palette. This is it's actually wax paper. They come in various sheets. And what I like about this, at the end of the day, I can just peel this top piece off and throw it in the trash. Don't have to clean anything up. They're very inexpensive. You can buy these at most art supply stores. And I've got a few colors selected for today's painting, which I'll discuss in a minute. Now, here's what we're going to paint. And as I said earlier, I don't really know what kind of flower this is, but it doesn't matter. This is not about doing a photographic rendering of a flower in which people look at it and say, well, that looks like such and such or such and such. This is about creating a piece of art in which people see flowers. If they can tell what kind of flower it is, wonderful. If they can't tell what kind of flower it is, wonderful. They still see a painting with flowers. And most decorators, that's really all they want. They don't really care what kind of flower it is. What they care about is, do they like the piece? Is it visually appealing? And is it maybe match the colors in their room, or match their furniture style or their decorating style? So getting caught up in the trap of trying to make it look exactly like a photographic flower is kind of self-defeating, in my opinion. I've been painting these for 40 years in watercolor and acrylic in the style that we're going to do today. And what I find is people buy these because they just like the way it looks. And half the time they probably can't even tell you what kind of flower it is. They just like the way it looks. So give yourself every break you can. Don't get caught up in that trap of trying to make it look just perfect. This isn't about perfection. Art is not an exact science. This isn't about doing a photographic rendering. This is about an expressive piece of art. Now let's talk about colors for a second. If you look at this flower, there's some very light kind of pinkish peach colors. There's some darker peach colors. There's some beautiful greens. Some are more yellow, some are a little bit cooler, maybe a little more blue-green. There's lots of stuff in the background, which we're not going to really get into too much definition on that. We're going to focus most of our attention just on this flower right here. Now these two flowers, and including this bud, I would almost swear there's some kind of a rose, but I don't know for sure. We may suggest those just a little bit in our painting, but this is the main thing we're trying to paint, this beautiful flower with this bud coming over here. So we're going to work out a good composition, but before I work out a composition, let's talk just a second about the colors. Now this is a color wheel. Color wheels have a wealth of information in them. If you don't have one, I highly recommend that you buy one. They're very inexpensive, and they're self-explanatory. If you look at this, there is so much stuff on this color wheel about different ways you can mix colors that really work well together. For example, I'm looking at these kind of peach, which is almost a red-orange look in this painting. Here I got my reds over here and my yellows. There's a little bit of orange. If you look directly opposite, there's my orange. Directly opposite is a blue or a green. Those are complementary colors. The red, yellow, the red, orange, and the blue, green will mix beautifully together on a painting. If you mix the two together equally, right here, you bring some of this down, you bring some of this up, you get a nice neutral. It's a very nice complementary neutral. Anytime you mix two complementary colors, you get a beautiful gray. Now let's give an example. What if I want to take and make a really warm gray using these two colors. If I want the gray to be warm, I add just a little bit more of the red-orange. If I want the gray to be a cool gray, I add a little bit more of the blue-green. So I have total control over this. This is something we do as artists. We have the ability to change things. The photographs cannot do that. The camera can only capture what's right in front of it, but as an artist, we can mix very nice grays, warm grays, cool grays. We can deviate from the photographic colors and use something different if we choose to. It's all about the painting, not about the photograph. So the photograph, in my opinion, is just an idea for a painting. What we do with that photograph on this piece of paper or canvas is entirely up to us, because we're the artist. People don't want to see how we can copy that flower look exactly like that photograph. If they want that kind of definition, they can go out and take a photograph. They want to see how an artist sees that flower. How does an artist interpret this flower? How does an artist manipulate these colors? That's what we're going to do today. We're going to make this a very, hopefully, exciting, attractive piece of art. Well, now that we've seen a little bit about the materials, there's a lot more we need to talk about when it comes to acrylic painting. To learn more about painting with acrylics and get exclusive tips, click on the link in the description, register for my video. It's a free marathon. Yes, it is a free marathon. It's called The Art of Acrylic. We cover lots of things. We cover everything from a composition, taking the subject matter and breaking it down into the basic elements that you need. We talk about design factors, things that make a painting really, really work, in addition to just lots of interesting brush techniques and color mixing and so forth. It's a great way to paint. And I really do like to take questions and guide people right through the process of creating a wonderful work of art using acrylics. So join me right now. It's like I said, click on the link in the video description and we'll take you right into the whole process. Thank you. I'll be working today on a 15 by 22 inch piece of Fabriano paper. It's a 300-pound cold pressed watercolor paper. I do recommend you use 300-pound paper so it doesn't buckle nearly as much when it's wet. The 140-pound paper buckles quite a lot when it's wet, but the 300-pound paper stays flatter. It's much easier to work on. And I put one coating of gesso. Gesso is just a very gritty white acrylic paint, and you can hear how rough that is. That's the texture of the gesso. Gesso it's got what's called ground in it. It's just very, very microscopic little pieces of ground, and what they do is it helps the paint adhere to the gesso. And so when you're working on it, whether you're working on a canvas or working on a piece of paper like I'm doing, I highly recommend you put at least one coat of gesso. Usually one coat is all you need. Just one coat of gesso. Let it dry for a few hours or let it dry overnight, and then you're ready to start painting. A lot of people say you need 2 or 3 coats of gesso. I don't personally understand why, because I've always put just one coat. All I'm trying to do really is just create a surface that the paint will stick to. I can get some beautiful dry brush effects with it. That's the main thing I'm trying to do. So I don't see how 2 or 3 coats makes a difference, but if that's what you want to do, if somebody else tells you to do that, then I'm not one to argue with them. I'm just telling you how I do it. In my book, I just do one coat. Now let's take a look at the colors we're going to use. Well, incidentally, I've got this paper taped down to a mounting board. That's just a very hard piece of plastic foam core, and I'm using the green painter tape. I like the green painter's tape, so what I did was I taped the paper down with the green tape, then I put the gesso on it. The green tape is very easy to take off after the piece is finished. If you notice, some of my gesso went up over the edge of the tape. Now if I use like masking tape on this, the masking tape might be really stuck to that gesso and be hard to get up. The green tape peels off quite easily when the piece is finished. So I do recommend the green painter's tape. You can buy it at any hardware store or home improvement store. The brushes I'm using, I've got 3 watercolor brushes. These are very soft bristle brushes. This is a hog bristle. Now this is a stiff bristle brush. It's a very stiff hog bristle brush. I'm going to use this mostly for softening edges. But for painting the edges, I'll be using these watercolor brushes. There's about a 1/4 inch flat and a 1 inch flat. And I've got a couple of oil painting brushes. These are very stiff China bristle brushes. This really is about all I need. I don't need to have a big collection of brushes to do this painting. I'll be doing a lot of the painting using these two softer brushes because they lay in these very, very nice soft edges. The heavier brushes are great for doing a lot of impasto. Impasto is when you just scoop up a big clump of paint on the brush and you plop it down and move it around. We'll be doing some of that, but not a lot of that. Most of what we do will be done using these three brushes. These two for applying the paint. These are the soft nylon brushes. They're flat. And then of course, I'll have my bristle brush for softening and blending edges. I've also got a pencil. This just has a 2B lid in it. I'm gonna do a very quick sketch before I start to paint. Now let's take a look at the colors I've got. I may not use all these colors, but these are the colors I've selected for this particular piece. I've got Mars Black, Permanent Green Deep, Alizarin Crimson, Brilliant Purple, Raw Sienna, Lemon Yellow, and Primary Blue. Like I said, some of these colors I may not use, but I selected them in case I decide to put them in the painting. We don't want to have this look too, I don't want to have like necessarily a pink flower and a green leaf. We can always put yellows in it, we can put some blues in it, we can put some purples in it. There's a lot of things we can do to dress this painting up. Remember, this is going to be a very painterly, hopefully colorful, expressive piece of art. So don't hesitate when you're doing a piece like this to really get some nice colors out that you personally like. Does it matter if those colors in a photograph? No, it does not matter. If you like those colors, whatever you pick out, find a way to work them into your painting. This is what artists do. This is what people want us to do. They want to see how we do it. I've also got a jar of titanium white. Titanium white is I use that to lighten my colors if I need to. I have 2 containers for water. Now one of these I will keep clean, and I always have clean water handy in case I need to put some clean water on my paper, and I'll clean my brushes in this one. Acrylics, as I said earlier, they dry very quickly. So if you've got a brush and it's got acrylic paint all over it, and you're going to switch brushes, don't just lay that brush down, because if you're like me, you'll forget about it, and then 30 minutes later that brush is as hard as a rock. That paint is dried. When you're not using it, stick it in the water. The water will keep that paint from drying, and then you can easily rinse the brush off and use it later if you need to. But I'm the world's worst for just taking my brushes and setting them down like that and working on my painting, and then coming back and that brush is totally as hard as a rock. If you do accidentally leave a brush sitting out and the paint dries, Dawn dishwashing detergent in warm water, or Murphy's oil, which is a soap, in warm water. Stick the brush in there, let it sit overnight, and most of that paint can be removed very easily. I do it all the time because I'm always forgetting to clean my brushes. This is why I stress it, keep the brushes clean or in the water. Something else I have a roll of paper towels, which we'll use quite a lot just when I'm wiping off my brushes. And I've got this. Now this is just a little squirt bottle. It actually sprays a very fine mist. So when I squeeze my paint out on my palette, I want to keep these paints wet. And if I'm painting for a long time, they're going to start drying. But I can periodically just come in, just put a little mist on them. That's all we need to do to keep the paint nice and moist. And I can also use this little mister to put water on my paper. I don't want a lot of water. I want just a very fine mist, just enough that keeps the surface wet so I can take a brush and move my paint around. So having said all that, let's get these things off my table. Well, I hope you found the information in that video helpful. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We assist everyone that comes in with everything from how to master drawing skills, how to apply paint. There's so much to learn, and this is such a wonderful, wonderful learning opportunity. So join us, immerse yourself in the wonderful world of art, and follow the link in the video registration to register for my marathon. Hopefully I'll see you there. Thank you.